Welcome back into another episode of Where the Game Lives On, the official podcast of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. Day of release, Wednesday, June 12th, 2024. I am your host, Noah Tucker, coming to you from our podcast studio inside of the currently closed museum here at the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, 3861 East Stan Musial Drive. First time in the 30 years of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame being at this location, that we are seeing major renovations to this building, updating it to what we are going to call a sports fans playground. Going to be an awesome deal. Good things come to those who wait. But in the meantime, we're going to keep coming out with podcast episodes for you every week. Wednesdays, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube. Very busy time for us here at the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. If you're watching on YouTube, you can probably tell that by the mess that I currently have on my desk. But nonetheless, we'll still get the cameras rolling and we will get the mics hot and get a new episode out to you today. I'll tell you what, I don't know if you have tried this new steak, egg, and cheese bagel at McDonald's, but it's good. Like really good. I mean, I know what you might be thinking initially, right? Like, come on, you gotta be kidding me, right? I mean, no, I know what a good breakfast bagel is. Okay. And if you're from, the Northeast or something, you're probably like, no, you don't. You might be right. No. But I love a good, Einstein's bagel every once in a while. Einstein's, bro. So I think the standards, not in the basement. It's there. It's a semi-decent standard, but thoroughly impressed. I couldn't even tell you what all it includes. Like, I think it's McDonald's version of hollandaise sauce, maybe. And, I think there's some onions, some like sauteed. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're frozen, right? Onions. But, man, I was just like, we're in the future here. At least that's how I felt. And then I realized that they were just bringing it back. It used to be a menu item, and then it threw everything out of whack for me. But I'll tell you what, I don't eat a lot of fast food, but I will take McDonald's breakfast any day of the week. Big breakfast guy in general. Big breakfast guy. But there's just something about McDonald's breakfast. I don't know. It just hits right. It's just a great way to start your day. You just set the tone, right, with a McDonald's breakfast. Of course, our boss would be sitting here saying, no, you got to have a double Whopper with cheese and you got to stop by the gas station and get a chili dog. Okay, well, some of us have a little bit more realistic menu items. We consider it breakfast. So, I don't eat it consistently, but when I do, it's a treat without a doubt. And if you ever find yourself there, got to try this new bagel. Seriously. I mean, I don't know what they're putting in these things these days, but call me a sucker. They can take my money. I'll open the wallet right up. NBA finals are well underway. We've got the Celtics and the Mavs. They're in Dallas tonight for game 3. Boston's up 2-0. Two very different games, I think, if you ask me, that they won here in this series. Both of them at home, though. That's the common denominator. Not sure how much the crowd played in the first game. Boston shot the lights out. It's that simple. And we've seen them do it all year long. When they get guys just, rotating around, getting the ball moving, getting open shots beyond the arc, it's hard to keep up. It's hard to keep pace. And I think that was the storyline in game 1. They did it. They did it early. They had the crowd behind them, and they kind of took the Mavs' energy right from the jump. Easy game 1 win. Game 2, though, a little different. I think there was a lot more back and forth, kind of more of a game of runs, if you ask me. Dallas was in that game. They weren't at one point, and then third quarter, they'd gotten on a run. They closed the gap a little bit. And then down the stretch, anything can happen. What happens? Well, Boston finds a way to win. And now that you're on the road, headed back to Dallas, game 3 tonight, I think it's without a doubt must win. for the Mavs. Nobody, you're 3-0, you're done, right? They got to get a win. The question for me is, can they win two? Right. One just keeps it a series. If they win tonight, game 3 in Dallas, the Mavs are just keeping this a series. That being said, can they do what they need to do to really keep this thing level and win back-to-back at home? And then, anything can happen. You basically make it a best of 3. What do they need, in my opinion, for that? It's simple. They've got one of the best backcourts in the league, 2 amazing scorers. Those guys cannot be off their game. And now I know what you're thinking. Oh yeah, they got to put up 30 apiece, right? No, that's definitely not the case. They both can. They're both very capable of doing that, but they're just going to have to lead, right? They're going to have to be able to shoot efficiently. They're going to have to help create open shots. Both of them distribute the ball very well. But I don't know. Is that initiated on the defensive end? Is it just good ball movement that starts from the backcourt? Either way, those 2 guys, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, are going to have to be the catalyst. Sure, they've got guys like Lively, who is their energy guy and really kind of keeps, a lot of things moving, keeps a lot of up pace, gets some defensive stomps here and there. No, those, I don't care what you say. Those 2 in the backcourt are going to be the deciding factor at the end of this series. Okay. If you sit here and you say the top 3 guys in the series, if the top 3 performances come from Luka and Kyrie and say Jaylen Brown, right? The Mavs have a chance of winning this series. But if we're sitting here at the end of this series and we're like, the 2 of the 3 best guys were, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and then whatever, right? Throw Luka in there. It's probably going to be Boston all the way. So those 2 got to be the catalyst. They've got to help to spark the offense, whether it be ball movement, whether it be scoring. And then from there, who we'll see. But on your home court, you got to defend it. I'd love to see them make it a series, right? I'd love to see them, get to at home, and then it's just it's a battle, right? At that point, don't think that's what's going to happen. I think Dallas, I think they're gonna get back on pace tonight. I think they're gonna win game 3. Wouldn't be surprised if they win it handedly. That being said, because Boston, what I've seen in the 2 games so far, if they can't get the 3 ball going, the offense can get a little stagnant at times. But I think Dallas wins tonight, gets the series to 2-1. Then I like Boston. I think the real deciding game will be game 4. I like Boston in game 4 to kind of bounce back, get it to 3-1. And then, it's a tough uphill battle from there. I originally had Boston in 6. I still am going to stay with Boston in 6. Could we see Boston in 5? Absolutely. I don't think we're going to see the sweep, though. Who knows? Mavs win 2. We might see it go to 7. It's possible. But if boss man Byron Shives listening, he had the Mavs in 7, I think. Go back, listen to previous episodes. He had Mavs in 7. I think I had Celtics in 6. So we'll see. We'll see. One thing that I thought was really cool before we switch topics, though, St. Louis Cardinals, not going to talk about them a whole lot today, but their bullpen, supposedly the idea was Ryan Helsley's. Their whole bullpen was wearing Jason Tatum jerseys during warmups the other night, showing their support. If you're a Missouri sports fan, that makes perfect sense to you. Jason Tatum was a St. Louis product, came out of Chaminade. And so I just thought it was really cool, right? Like, hey, St. Louis doesn't have a professional basketball team, and they're rooting for their hometown kid, showing their support for him. I think it's pretty sweet. Obviously, we're a little biased. We're probably rooting for Jason Tatum a little bit too, but these next 2 games are going to be very pivotal in seeing if this is a series or if it really gets out of hand quick. This is a Byron conversation, if I have ever seen one, for sure. Don't know if you saw this. Joey Chestnut was trending on Twitter earlier this week. Joey Chestnut, obviously, that name rings a bell. He is the professional hot dog eater, does a lot of different professional eating competitions, but he's most known for being a part of the 4th of July Nathan's hot dog eating contest. That's where he's made his name. He's set records. He's won it so many times. Like I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head. But he has been banned from the Nathan's hot dog eating contest after he agreed to a 4-year, $1.2 million branding deal with Impossible Foods. Impossible Foods, you're like, what is that? If I'm correct, and I wish I would have looked this up beforehand, Impossible Foods are the people that make like the vegan burgers and the vegan, like, I have no idea what all they do. Like the Impossible Burger, I think is like a big one. But I'm sure they do other things too. They do chicken strips or something, maybe. There's more to it than just the Impossible Burger, but that's just like, I think they're staple, right? Man, kind of surprised by this. Really was floored by it. And, maybe most people aren't super stoked to talk about the professional eating world. But you're talking about not only like the best athlete in this sport right now, he's probably, and I don't even know if it's arguable, he's probably the best professional eater of all time. Definitely the most known, definitely, the most, probably the only one that's ever been a household name. And you ban him from the marquee event. I was just floored. Now I'll say this. I'll go ahead and say this up front. My knee-jerk reaction was, well, yeah, Joey Chestnut sold, right? He sold out. Without a doubt, the guy's made his living off of his marketability, and it is all circulated around this one event. I don't think there's a lot of people out there that are watching professional eating contests, every day of the week, or throughout the year for that matter. But the biggest one, right, is the one on 4th of July where everybody's, getting ready to go out and they're going to the lake and they're getting in the pool and they're getting ready to shoot off fireworks. But when you're sitting there and everybody's grilling, you're getting ready to eat, 4th of July lunch, you watch the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. I mean, it's a staple. I've said it on this podcast before. It might be one of the most like iconic summer-esque sporting events, whether you consider it a sport or not. Obviously, we think it's a sport, right? We're talking about it on this podcast. But yeah, right. I'm like, no, he's sold out, man. Nathan's literally is the name attached to the event who has made him who he is, put him up on his pedestal. And now he's signed a deal with a company who their entire mission is to create food that isn't meat, but replicates meat. Right. So that was my initial reaction. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, this is really, in my opinion, kind of an overreaction in terms of banning this guy. Like what? Banned for life? Like, what is this, Pete Rose? Like, was he, he wasn't gambling. It's not like he was gambling on himself to win or anything. The guy's just trying to make a living. There's a lot of stuff you can do out there, but not too many people are worth $1.2 million, in terms of their marketability. So can you blame him? Right. I mean, the guy's been, at the top of his game, been the best in the professional eating world for years. And I'm sure that you're not just getting, 6 or 7 figure payouts for winning these competitions. So yeah, I guess it's relatable to the guys that like, they go to live, right? They all went to live and got a lot of money up front instead of, relying on winning, making cuts, I'm sure that's kind of how it works, in professional eating. But I'll tell you this, the fact that he has been banned from the Nathan's hot dog eating contest makes me 10 times more likely to not watch it this year. I mean, I might, if I just so happen to walk past a TV and see it on, I might stop and see it. But ask me to name a professional eater, and I'm like, Joey Chestnut. Ask me to name a second one. Can't do it. Cannot do it, right? So they literally have banned LeBron James from the NBA Finals is what they've done. How does it affect, how does it affect the professional eating sphere, that world? Have no idea. I have no idea what he's going to be doing now other than, possibly doing some promos where he's eating, vegan burgers and rolling in the dough. So good for him. We talked about it last week. Women's basketball, the WNBA, is such a point of discussion. More traction this year than any time I have ever seen it. And a lot of people say it stems from Caitlin Clark. We had this whole breakdown on all the controversy. We had this whole breakdown of the controversy that she's been going through, trying to solidify herself in the WNBA. If you didn't have a chance to listen to last week's episode, that's season 3, episode 22, go back and give it a listen. Give our thoughts on Caitlin Clark and kind of some of the drama she's been a part of. But the latest news in the Caitlin Clark saga, if you will, is Caitlin Clark was quote unquote snubbed. She was a U.S. Women's Olympic Team snub, not a part of U.S. Olympic Women's Team. Not sure what you make of it. I think there's already been a ton of people outspoken about it. It came as a very big surprise to me, especially whenever I saw that there were some younger presence on the roster that was there. But yet she didn't get the invite. And I don't know, was it because, there's been so much talk about her? Was it because she's, had a lot of turnovers? I don't know. I mean, all I know is she can light it up. She gets buckets. She is electric to watch. More people are watching the game than anybody right now. And I'm going to relate this back to the conversation of what I was just saying about Joey Chestnut. It's going to be a busy summer. We've got all the good summer sports that are going to be taking place. And then it happens to be one of those years too, where you're going to get, the Summer Olympics, and, you always can tune in, and there's all access passes and all kinds of stuff. I would have likely watched some women's USA basketball if Caitlin Clark was on the team. And now that she's not, it's probably way more unlikely, very doubtful. Sure, if they make it to the championship game, probably we'll watch that one to see if they can secure a gold medal. But I think that there is, again, a huge portion of people who are trying to get vested in the WNBA right now, and Caitlin Clark is the spearhead of that, right? They're watching Caitlin. They're learning about some of these other teams that maybe they find some interest in other players as well. And I think that it has gained traction, and that's no doubt where the conversation should be. But she's not just, I mean, sure, is she the best player in the WNBA right now? No, probably not. But it's debatable. She's no scrub. She can play ball. And I think that whenever it comes to representing our country, yes, I want somebody who is an excellent 3-point shooter, can pass it like crazy. Oh, and by the way, she's probably the most popular player in the professional league, and she's been there for 2 months. Now the case is, sure, you've still got a very talented team, but I think there's just a lot of people in my camp. They're going to be sitting there saying, "Oh, wow, Caitlin Clark not on the U.S. Women's Olympic team. Yeah, no, maybe I won't watch a game." If you've made it this far in the episode, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. New episodes every Wednesday, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube. Man, sometimes we can be quick. It's all in the name of efficiency, right? It's summertime. We know y'all got things to do. You're busy, but we appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to leave us a like, a review, share it with your friends. Stay up to date. Everything happening at the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. You can follow us across our socials, both Missouri Sports Hall of Fame and Price Cutter Charity Championship. We've got those linked in the podcast description below. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time on another episode of Where the Game Lives On.